Hello, Ossining. It's Mayor Victoria Gearity here with you on Thursday afternoon. What time is it getting to be? Almost 3 o'clock. As a few folks start joining us, I'm going to go ahead and share this onto my personal page. And as soon as you tune in, I would ask you to share it as well so that anyone who's around this afternoon can join in. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and write those in. So let's see, where am I? Takes me a second. I've got so many Facebook pages to keep track of. Sometimes it takes a moment to get onto the page that I need. Here I am at my mayor's page, and I'm going to go ahead and encourage some folks to join me.
So many Facebook pages to keep track of. Sometimes it takes a moment
right.
to get.
And thanks for your patience. Sorry to keep folks waiting. If you were already, if you were trying to pay attention to me and I'm looking at my phone, that is like the most rude thing a person can do, right? I'm just going to share it one more time to get a couple of more people on board before we get into sharing any real information. It's an interesting week. It's kind of gloomy, windy day out. A lot of folks are already celebrating holidays. If you observe Passover, then last night was a Seder unlike any other. So that's what I wanted to start off by talking about. Thank you for joining us. That's what I wanted to start off by talking about is how to have a family holiday when you can't be with your family other than the folks that you live with in your household. And I saw some interesting approaches, a lot of family Zoom connections last night for Passover Seder, or Zeder, as I saw at least one person refer to it as. And I'm thinking about reaching out to my mother who lives in Sleepy Hollow and seeing how we might be able to somehow connect on Easter Sunday for our family's holiday. This is certainly a time where making family connections has to be done in new and creative ways. I thought I'd share with you a couple of the things that we've been doing in our household during this unusual time of isolation. Where we have so much more time together and we're in the house so much more. My son, who's in 7th grade, and I are reading the same book together, and my 6th grader and I just started reading a new book together. And after every chapter or so, we sit down and we have a book club, which is something that I learned they had been doing with their teachers in school, so it was very easy to adopt that practice in our household. We did that for our summer reading responsibilities for middle schoolers last summer, and we're doing it again now. And I'm looking forward to starting my new book with my 6th grader. Hi, Jenna. Thanks for joining us. And then one of the other things that really gets back to what we were saying about holidays is writing notes. And that's something that my mother is very good at. And she raised me to be a good note writer, to write thank you notes and to write notes to people that you haven't seen in some time. And I'm generally not very good at it. So I'm trying to have the next generation do a better job at it. Today was all about Easter cards. We sent Easter cards to grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, folks that we miss and we wish we got to see and are now just sending them wishes through the mail, and I assume we'll get in touch with them on Saturday at some point. Hi, Christina. Hi, Risa. Thanks for tuning in. We were just talking about how unusual it is to be having this holiday weekend and how different it will be for everyone who began with their Passover celebrations last night and all of us who have Good Friday and Easter celebrations coming up, and how we can still connect with family, but not in any way that we have. We still need to maintain social distance. Even on the holidays, we have to just stick with the folks who are in our household. And that's it's a tough thing to do, especially at a time with so much uncertainty and so much pain and such a difficult time for everyone emotionally, as well as all of the other factors that compound that experience. I did. I have not gotten, unusually, the number from the Westchester County today on the number of positive cases in Westchester. Usually it comes after 2 o'clock or so, so I'm surprised that I haven't gotten it today. But I did get some in-depth update from Commissioner Norma Drummond, who is the head of the County Planning Department, who is leading the countywide effort for a complete census count. Obviously, the complete census count is separate and apart from what we're talking about with the pandemic. Certainly no one anticipated the pandemic, and the census has been in place since the Constitution was put in place a couple hundred years ago. So it will be happening whether we are able to go door to door and talk with each other or not. And this is the year to be able to still make progress on the census while being able to maintain social distancing, because most of the responses will be online. If you are one of the households that has responded already, then you probably did it online. I'm looking at our numbers right now. The village's response rate online so far is 39.5% online and 42% overall. That means that just over 2.5% of the people who have responded have been doing it by phone. The only ways you can do it so far are online or by phone. In both of those instances, you can do it in English or in another language. There are several other languages that you can do it in, either online or by phone. And to give you some context for those numbers, those are the percentages of households that have responded so far. We would like to have 100% participation. So 42% is not 100%. But I will tell you, I've got a listing here for the response rates for every municipality in Westchester County currently and in the 2010 census. In the 2010 census, Ossining had a total response rate of 64.7%, which is not great. It is better than many others, but I think we can certainly do better this year. There's not a lot keeping most of us too busy during the day. You can find 10 minutes to go online and respond for your family. We've talked a lot about why that's so incredibly important for us to be well represented at all levels of government, accurately represented, and for us to have access to adequate funding. And at least we spoke about some of the ways that the census number impacts the amount of funding that we get, whether that's in sales tax revenue, whether that's in funding for things like our roadways, grant funding for our parks, or for community development block grants, which might help with infrastructure funding. All of that is going to be set up as a result of the 2020 census. So the time to make sure we maximize our funding and our representation at Westchester, at county, state, and federal levels of government is right now. So I'm just looking at the response rates from 10 years ago. The highest one I see from any Westchester municipality is 79% from Scarsdale. And the lowest that I see from 2010, it was Mount Vernon at 56.1%. So I'd like us to be closer to the Scarsdale number than the Mount Vernon number by the end of this, and I think we can do it. Ossining is active and connected in a way now that we were not connected 10 years ago, and a lot of that is, for the internet is a double-edged sword. It can be infuriating, or it can be an incredibly helpful tool. So right now is a really great way for us to make sure that everyone we're virtually connected to knows that it is incredibly important for them to respond to the census. If you have not responded yet by phone or online, you will soon be getting a paper census in the mail that you can mail back. If you have a family member who maybe is not as comfortable working on the internet or by phone, then please just touch base with them. Find out if they have responded to the census. If they get something in the mail, it probably means that they haven't, unless they're sending it to everyone. I'm not 100% sure of that. But see if there's some way that you can make sure that every member of your family, everyone that you have a personal connection to, has responded to the census. And so I just wanted to go and take a look at some of these other numbers that Commissioner Drummond provided, talking about the disparities between municipalities. Hey Keith, that's a friend of mine from college is watching. Good to see you, Keith. We're talking about Census 2020 and where we are here in Westchester County. And I'm just going to read off a list for all of us local folks. We will, if I read off a list and it says, and the list is Mount Vernon, Port Chester, Yonkers, Elmsford, Peekskill, Village of Ossining, Sleepy Hollow, New Rochelle, Tuckahoe, and White Plains. I read that list to you. And then I read a list that says Croton-on-Hudson, Hastings-on-Hudson, Newcastle, Rybrook, Briarcliff Manor, Scarsdale, Ardsley, Lewisboro, Yorktown, Irvington. Those are two lists that are just talking about census response rates. The first list was the lowest in Westchester, starting with the lowest, which is Mount Vernon. The second list was the highest response rate in Westchester, the highest of which is Croton-on-Hudson. And you may notice that I could have been talking about census response rates, or I might have been talking about income levels. Census response rates mirror largely income levels in communities. So what does that mean? That means communities that are already wealthy are going to have better representation, more accurate representation in all levels of government, and they are going to have access to more funding. Is that fair? Absolutely not. So you understand why it's so incredibly important for all of us in Ossining to do everything we can to get people to respond to the census. So if you haven't already posted about it, if you haven't yet sent an email to your child's classmates or teammates, or if you haven't just checked and started by making sure that everyone you know has responded to the census, please do that today. Okay. So enough of my census reminders for folks. I just wanted to, I like this opportunity to touch base with everyone once a day. Normally I do provide you with the updated numbers of official positive cases for the coronavirus. And I don't have that number yet. It's coming a little late to us this time. But when it comes out, I'll take note of it, and I'll either have an updated number from today or tomorrow to share with you tomorrow afternoon at about this same time. It'll be Good Friday tomorrow. We normally have a very vibrant event that takes place on Good Friday in Ossining, and this year will certainly be one to remember for so many reasons, one of which is that the thousands of people who come out for the Good Friday Stations of the Cross procession that is led by St. Anne's congregation through the village of Ossining is obviously not happening this year, like so many other public gatherings, and that's something that's deeply missed by many people. Holidays are especially tough. Anytime you're going through an emotionally trying time, and this is certainly no exception, as the whole country and the world are going through an emotionally trying time. So I thank you all for tuning in, and if you have any specific questions or updates you'd like me to provide in an upcoming Facebook segment, please go ahead and send me an email at Gearity@villageofossining.org. That's Gearity, Gearity, at villageofossining.org. Meanwhile, stay safe. Stay distant from everyone other than the people in your household. If you're lucky enough to have people in your home that you get to be physically close to, then count that as one of the blessings that you have. We are a strong community. We are a community that likes to reach out and help each other, and we see that happening every single day. And I know that all of us are taking time each day to be grateful for the tremendous contributions of all of the essential workers who are keeping us safe, keeping us fed, and helping us to remember why it's so important that we are self-isolating, to keep those folks on the front line as safe as we can, and to make sure that the people who need the medical attention are able to have the care from the first line, the front line folks who are helping out, everybody in the hospitals, everybody in our EMTs, everybody in essential services that is keeping us going. We take time each day to be grateful for them and to find those silver linings. I wish you all a happy holiday.